They say you have no games. Now there's 20 to 30 indie games coming every week. What do we do? What's going on, everyone? Alex Prime here, and today we're going to talk about the Nintendo Switch and the inevitable indie avalanche that is heading towards it. So, Nintendo recently had their investors meeting, the 78th annual general meeting of the shareholders. Whatever. It happened. This is the only interesting thing that happened during that show as far as I'm concerned. Kimishima talked about broadening their game lineup. So he said, offering enjoyable first-party games throughout the world will continue to be one of our strengths, but increasing the number of people who make these games to be played on Nintendo platforms is also very important for growing our business. That is why we are working to create an environment that makes development easier and simplifying the process of publishing games on the Nintendo Switch. Tanaka was also at this meeting, and he said, some of the indie games already released have gone on to become million sellers worldwide. In the future, we are looking to release about 20 to 30 games on the Nintendo Switch every week. And we definitely expect to see some great games among them. Kimishima also said, we are currently working towards reaching 1,500 software titles developed for the Nintendo Switch with Unity. That's Unity alone. I think that will give you an idea of how much it has grown. So, a lot of information. Let's go through it bit by bit. So, Kimishima talks about wanting to get more people making games on the Nintendo Switch. Of course, they need to. Can't rely on only your own games. We saw what happened last generation with that. With the Switch, that's definitely not a problem. Nintendo has their first-party games down packed. They're getting a ton of indie support. They're getting some third-party major support as well. And a lot of games have been successful. We're seeing a lot of indie devs come out and say their version of the game sold better on the Switch, sometimes even better on the Switch compared to the other platforms combined, with stuff like Blossom Tales, which is insane. So that kind of stuff is very encouraging to see. Indie games on the Switch are fantastic, of course, and Nintendo sees that. They're making their platform a lot more open for indie developers, whereas in the past it was a little more difficult to put indie games on the Nintendo platforms. But this time around, they're using indie games as like one of their pillars. It's one of the selling points of the Switch. Now, there's another way to look at this. A potential problem down the road, and that's when they're talking about this 20 to 30 indie games every single week coming out, whereas right now it's like under 10 a week, which is still a lot. It's manageable if you're paying attention, but a lot of stuff, because of the way that eShop is set up, gets lost in translation. If you're not there on day one looking at these games, and if you don't put it on your wish list, good luck trying to find it in a month or so. The eShop is set up in such a way that it basically only shows you less than 30 games on the homepage. So if they're putting 30 games a week, that's their entire week's worth of games will be gone by the next week. The eShop is going to create problems with the amount of games Nintendo's trying to release going forward. It needs a revamp. They need to reorganize the eShop. They need to add more filters and ways to find games easier. There's games that have released on the Switch I've never even heard about. And we're talking about people like me who are invested in gaming, we're on YouTube, we're reading the articles, we're checking the eShop, and there's still so many games falling through the cracks. And that's now. We're talking about 20 to 30 games. That's 3 times the amount that's coming out currently. And the eShop is going to make a lot of those games basically invisible. The only way to get a game back in people's eyes after it's been that day one launch is the developers have to put the game on sale to just get it even a chance of being seen again. That's a problem. It's a problem that Steam has. And the way Nintendo's handling this, it seems like they're trying to do it like Steam. And while that's great for them, because Nintendo makes money off each game sold, it's unfortunate for us And it's unfortunate for the developers because their games aren't going to get seen and we're not going to see the games. So Nintendo gotta revamp this eShop because it's becoming a problem already and it's going to get worse, definitely worse as time goes on if you're releasing more games. No one's saying get less games. Only an idiot would say advocating for less games. But there has to be a way to filter these games so we can see them. The way it's set up now, it's basically best-selling, new games, and then there's a couple other ones, but they need more filters. I don't know why they haven't thought of this ahead of time. Maybe they are. Maybe it's releasing alongside their paid online network. We don't know. But as it stands right now, today, the eShop is a nightmare, and it's gonna get worse and worse and worse. And it's going to get more games lost in the shuffle, and that sucks because there's a lot of great indie games, and the Switch is great with indie games. Indie games are fantastic on the Switch. I've said this for a long time. I feel indie games, the best place to play indie games is on the Switch because you generally get the same version as the other consoles because indie games are not too hardware intensive. You get a very similar version, and plus you can take it around with you, and they're great for pick-up and play games. So I see and I understand why they do so well on the Switch, and that's great, and that's awesome. But when so many get lost because they're putting out so many games, and you can't even find them a week later, that's a problem. And hopefully Nintendo is sorting that out. Now, as far as this 1,500 titles just from Unity alone, that's insane. That's amazing. This console is getting a lot of support. The Switch is great in a lot of ways, and they're doing a lot of good things. But the eShop, guys, I'm telling you, the eShop, it is going to hinder a lot of game sales. It is going to hinder a lot of developers from putting their games in the future. If you're putting games on a platform and you're not getting seen, is there really a point to keep putting your games on the platform? It's a problem Steam has. Steam, exact same problem. Steam puts out way more games in the Switch every single week, and their system is a lot easier to filter through and find things, but it's still not perfect. And the Switch eShop is a far cry from what Steam is offering as far as finding games. So hopefully Nintendo can sort this out, because if we can get a better eShop and we get all these games and it's easy to find, that's great for everybody. It's great for Nintendo because more people are purchasing games. It's great for us because we have more games to play, and it's great for developers because they're selling games. So we will see. What do you guys think? How do you think Nintendo can improve the eShop? Let's talk about it. What kind of features do you want to see added on? Do you want to see them sort it by price point? Do you want to sort it by user reviews? Things like that. That could be super useful. Have a 5-star system for people that have bought the game, and then have it sorted like that. Even like the stuff like the older games like Neo Geo games, realistically, those guys should have their own category. Just Neo Geo section, get them over there. Indie should have their own section, things like that. Little things will make it so much easier to find games, guys. So yeah, let's talk about it. Comment section below. 20 to 30 indie games per week. And Nintendo said, there was one part that was kind of funny, the way they worded it. Let me find it again. So we are looking to release around 20 to 30 indie games on the Nintendo Switch per week, and we definitely expect to see some great games among them. Now, the way I interpret that is out of those 20 to 30 indie games, there's gonna be a lot of shovelware. There's gonna be some cell phone type games. There's gonna be some garbage games that get through. It is what it is. We're already seeing it now. There's a lot of pretty subpar games on the eShop, but it's games. Somebody's playing them, otherwise they wouldn't keep coming, right? But we're gonna have some great games among them. What I think that means is Nintendo titles or larger AAA titles, like, oh hey, this month we have like 20 indie games that you might be interested in, and then hey, look, we also have Octopath Traveler, and we also have Captain Toad this week, or later on like Wolfenstein 2 or whatever. So hopefully they're having like a tentpole game, like a larger game, and then surrounding it with indie games, because that would make a lot of sense. But yeah, again, let's talk about it, guys, in the comment section below. Make sure to hit that like button, share, subscribe. You know, like, who would have thought having too many games is a problem, right? Can you imagine if we had this problem last generation? That didn't happen. But I will see you guys later. Bye.